It is the start of, I can't do this, everything's backwards. It is the start of the 10 style challenge that I made up for myself, starting with a warm-up beer. It's Three-Headed Dragon, it's a pale ale, and it's up now. All right, I am Matt from Big Monster Brewing, which I realize I don't say in any of these videos, so I'm gonna try now. In fact, the name of this beer made me think of that. It's named after a big monster, Three-Headed Dragon. It's been kind of my dragon to chase, trying to dial in a pale ale recipe. I have tried several. Never had one come out bad, let's say that. But I never had one that I want to say, that's the one I'm gonna make from now on and give to people, enter the competitions, open a brewery with, become famous, date Julia Roberts. I don't know why I picked Julia Roberts. I'm off script. So that's it. For this 10 style challenge. I did say there's some repeats in here. So this is kind of a repeat. It's a pale ale recipe I have done before, but I made some adjustments to see if I can get that pale ale recipe that I want. So let's get started. I am getting the water together, the strike water. It's going to take about 2 gallons and 10 cups. You can see I'm using pre-bottled purified water. I don't want to keep using bottled water this whole project, all 10 beers. That takes up money. I have to actually go and buy it. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to do something else, and that's going to be a future episode. So for today, we got bottled water. The grist for the grain bill is pretty simple. It is, you see that? Let's see, 2 pounds, 7.2 ounces of American two-row, 1 ounce of Crystal ADL, and 0.5 or a half ounce, as you could say, of Carapils. And that's it. While I'm waiting for the water to heat up, I went ahead and milled the grains. Wow. My brain shut down there for a second. So did a double mill. I don't know if you can really tell the difference between a double and a single by sight, but double mill for this brew in the bag. And let's see, just waiting for the water to come up and then I'll mash in. I damn near forgot my mineral additions. That would have been bad. All right, strike water is ready. I got the bag tied up and held there. I'm gonna grab my measuring cup, which is not where I thought I left it, and then get this started. It's not in these two things. Bing! Found it. I'm just going to take like 3 or 4 of these, pour them in. It'll help warm up the mash tun and cool down the water. The strike water is a couple degrees high, but no big deal. And then when this is about 3/4 down, maybe half down, I'll dump it in by hand. This is mainly started off as a safety precaution, so I wouldn't have to lift that whole thing, all that water up and over the top of this, potentially burn myself. So I think you get where this is going. And there we have it. Got all the water in there, mashing in nicely. Gonna check the temperature soon. One thing I'm not gonna do in this brew is check the pH. I'm pretty sure the pH is okay with this one. This recipe is an adjustment of recipe I've done several times. What is all that? The cat is going nuts. Would you shut up? Anyway, pH. pH is usually pretty good. I don't normally need to adjust it with this recipe, this gallon. So since this is a repeat recipe, I'm not going to bother, but I'm going to check out the pH on the other styles for sure. I've got my timer set for the mash, for the 1 hour mash, and now I got plenty of time to weigh out these hops. And we're going to be using Galaxy and Cascade, mostly Cascade. A little bit of Galaxy and then some Galaxy again, a dry hop. And I'm sure I've said this in other episodes, but I'm going to say it again to remind myself. It took me an embarrassingly long time to think of putting these labels in these bags. So this isn't so bad, but you see here, you got all this printing on here. You can't necessarily read it, especially when one bag's in front of another. I thought I was a damn genius when I did that until I did it and then realized, yeah, I probably should have done that like 3 years ago. All right, I weighed out all the hops. I want to try something here. Instead of starting and stopping the camera for every one, I was going to do this. But it seems like these little plastic cups, like each one, its tare weight is a little different. Let's see. Well, of course, there you go. That one completely made a liar out of me, but let's see. Here's what I'm going to try to do. It starts off with, what is it? 1.15 ounce of Cascade hops. Let's see. Yep, see, yeah, 0.16. I know these were all right when I did this. Trust me. I have no reason to make up my hop weights. There's zero to gain from that. But anyway, 0.15 ounce at 60 minutes. This one should be 0.2. Hey, that one's on. 0.2 ounce. Cascade again. That was Cascade if I didn't say it. At 60 minutes. 0.2 Cascade at 10. This is a mixture of Cascade. It is 0.15 of Cascade and 0.1. That's 0.15 ounce of Cascade, 0.1 of Galaxy. So that should come out to 2 or 0.25, which it does. All right. We are, what is that? 2 for 3. Let's see if we go 3 for 4. And that's at 5 minutes. At flame out, another, what is that? 0.2 ounce of Cascade. Yay, 3 for 4. That's not bad. That's not bad. It went better than I thought it would. I've been having a little problem with this particular set of muslin bags I'm using for hops. Now, I of course could just dump the hops in just like that. Nothing wrong with that. I use these to limit the matter, the debris, whatever you call it, mainly because of the surface area that I have to use for when I transfer the wort into these 1 gallon carboys. When I dump the hops directly in, the filter I'm going through fills up pretty quick. These bags help a lot. So that's why I use those. I know I can dump these in. I know. Okay. So, but anyway, these bags, they either come exactly the right size or too big. These came just a little too big, which is kind of frustrating. That's what they look like until I cut them in half. Normally, I've just been tying them off, tying a knot in the bottom where I cut and then tying a knot on the other side when I put the hops in. But then the bags get a little constricted. Finally dawned on me, I've got this giant roll of butcher's twine that can safely go into the boil and not do anything to the flavor. I'm going to cut the ends off here, but I'm tying off the ends with the twine rather than tying off a knot and losing, I don't know, let's see, probably about at least that much of the bag, like from my fingers up. I need that much to tie off a knot. So I'll have a lot more surface area for the hops to expand and grow, and with a minimal addition of the butcher's twine, once I cut these ends off. So that's a solution for that one. And just another thing I can do while I'm waiting for that mash to finish. If I open this door, you're gonna come right back and help me, right? That's what I thought. In the end, we got 2 gallons and 3 cups of sweet wort, and fire's going, probably can't see it in the sunlight, getting ready to get up to a boil. Its pre-boil gravity is 1034, which is, I think, about 8 points higher than expected. So definitely not going to go more than a 60-minute boil. Don't need to reduce this more. So this might end up being a little higher ABV than intended, which we'll see how that all plays together in the end. I got all the hops lined up like I usually do. I forgot to, I guess I didn't need to mention it. I forgot the Warflock tablet in at 15 minutes. I might remember to do it at 15. If I don't, I'll see it when I grab the 10. That's fine too for such a small batch. But the things I do to pass the time, waiting for the boil. There's a less exciting part about home brewing that no one ever shows: the cleaning. But it's got to be done, because all this, until it's beer. Oops, I'm not doing a very good job. Maybe this is why no one shows it. But it's all sugar water until it's beer. So gonna give this a good clean out. The colander, the bag's already washed out. I needed 2 hands. I apparently need 2 hands for that, but I really needed 2 hands for that one. But yeah, it's the glorious cleaning process of home brewing. Doing okay, Brewing Annie? Helping out? Can I get you anything? Pillow? Biscuit? Maybe a cold glass of water? We're getting close. Closer. Alright, that's too close because that's like really hot. We're just about there. I'm going to let it get to a good roll and then make sure the hot break's okay and we're not going to have a boil over, and then I'm going to officially start the timer and the 1 hour boil. Alright, the boil started about a minute ago. You can see the first top drop in there. I fiddled with the gas just a little bit to make sure we didn't get too aggressive and, again, kind of chance that boil over, but things are looking good, so we're just going to wait it out for the next 45 minutes until we need to do something again. And I did not forget the Warflock tablet at 15 minutes, so there we go. Here is the 10-minute Cascade edition, in and going. And this is the Galaxy and Cascade edition for 5 minutes, which really smell good together. I checked them out before I put them in, so yeah, that was nice. All right, the timer sounded, so 60 minutes is over. And there's the Flame Out edition. And we should have a third hand here. Cover it up to bring it inside and chill it. All right, it's all in the fermenter. Yeast is pitched. I pitched one of my vials of Y yeast 1056, the American ale. I don't think I mentioned that before. So that's what's in there. Blow off tube set to go. My incredibly advanced cooling system. No, it's not commercially available yet. I'm still working on it. And the temperature reader. And right there, if you saw the Tropical IPA episodes, that's from the electrical tape. That is me trying to clean it without chemicals that leave a lot of odor, because I didn't want to trap it inside. This is a cooler, if you couldn't tell. Yeah, and that didn't work, so I'll figure something out. I may have to actually use those chemicals to get this tape off. There's another one right there. And then give it a really thorough cleaning, and then maybe some a Star Sand soak or something to passivate that the odor that the I don't even know what it's called, but it's it's quite potent. But that's for another time. So I'm gonna seal this up and then let it do its thing. So I made a mistake. I made a mistake, which led to miscalculations. I was gonna say I made a miscalculation, but I actually made a mistake that snowballed into miscalculations. I was trying to figure out why my starting gravity, I'll say, is never exactly on to what my recipe says it's going to be. It's always a few points off. But this was way off. I was like, okay, I did something wrong. I missed something. So I went back and over the recipe. I have the recipe here in my hand. I couldn't see anything in the recipe part, which the light's blowing it out, but the recipe part down here, I couldn't see anything wrong. Until I looked up here in, I guess, the statistics or the numbers. And this number right here, the efficiency. So you can see, if it's not too blurry, it says 85%. That should actually say 65%, because I'm actually brewing tonight, I'm looking at it again. I'm using the mash in a cooler, mash in a bag. I'm using basically a brew in a bag formula, and I've measured this a couple times, and the efficiency is it's somewhere between 63% and 67%. So I split it down the middle on my recipes for 65%, except for this one, which I did 85, which is a number I do use in my 5-gallon batches when I use my 3-vessel system. When I use my 3-vessel system with fly sparging, I get 85%. When I batch sparge, it's 75%. So I have 3 numbers that I use when I formulate recipes: 65, 75, 85. I don't know if I accidentally left this in from a prior recipe or just wasn't thinking, but that explains why gravity numbers are way off. So this beer is probably going to be pretty thin. I don't imagine how it's not going to be, because that's a 20% difference in efficiency, and that's all these numbers are calculated. The ABV was going to be 6%. The IBUs, that's another story. But let's say for what this calculates, almost 46 IBUs. The IBUs with the thin beer, I think, are going to be possibly a little stronger, and I think there's going to be almost no malt taste. I think the hops are going to blow that out. But we're not going to find out until it's done, and it's already fermenting. Let's see what happens. I've used this number I saw for all the recipes the night I made them. Those are fixed. This is the only one with the wrong calculations. I'm a little disappointed I have the wrong calculation on this one, because I want to dial in a pale ale recipe, but I'm happy I found it before I brewed all the others, because that would have been a disaster. It's been 6 days, I think. I'm actually not sure. I should have checked on my calendar when I started all this, but it is time to put the dry hops in, so I'm going to try to do that now with one hand there. There they are. It's 0.3 ounces of Galaxy hops, and I just sprayed this down with Star Sand, so I could do that. And in they go. And plug her back up. I don't know why I pointed the camera out there to get the sound of the bubbles going in when the microphone is about 2.5 feet from it, but that's what that was about. So there we go. I'm gonna let that dry hop for, I think, 3 days at this current fermentation temperature, and then it'll be time to cold crash it for about 48 hours before we get to bottling. I got everything together to bottle the three-headed dragon today, except the water and mixing up the sanitizer, which I'm going to do here shortly. Kind of have 8 bottles ready. I tend to get 6, sometimes 7, and then I have another one on hand in case one of the bottles cracks or something weird happens during capping. So not going to spend a whole lot of time in this video on bottling, but I'm going to take a couple shots as I go. One item I didn't have ready are these carbonation drops. This is what I'm going to use for this beer. I don't use these all the time, but I do use them for like pale ales, blonde ales, IPAs, anything that I'm looking for just somewhere in the 2.5 give or take volumes of CO2, where I'm not really super concerned about the CO2 volume, because they're quick, they're easy. I get varying results. I've never gotten anything undercarbonated, if anything overcarbonated. And for this, which after you saw the miscalculation, I don't have super high hopes for anyway, I'm just going to make this an easy bottling day and use these. I didn't talk about this in this particular episode, but maybe I'll cover it some more in a future one in these 1 gallon batches. But this Mylar balloon here, it's filled with CO2. And that's what I do. Pulled this right out of the fridge. This is what I do during cold crashing to keep the, I think it's, I don't know if it's a technical term, but I think the common term is suckback from pulling in oxygen. So I filled that Mylar balloon with CO2 and then just took it right to the blow-off tube that I took out of the fermenter, or the cooler while it was fermenting. And I do this a lot, and I rip through balloons because they're kind of tough to do without the actual, we call it the valve to fill the balloons. So I found some balloons online. It was like 40 balloons. It was like a grab bag, 40 Mylar balloons for $4. And I could not have been happier with the first balloon I pulled out of that grab bag box. I'm going to quick run through everything that's going to happen and what everything is, because I'm about to get started and I like to keep moving and I kind of need 2 hands. So 2 sets of caps here. These caps here, these are overruns from other batches I did that were specifically named that I had these caps printed for. And these are just regular gold crown caps, no label, no anything. This is what you use when you submit to a competition, because even though I don't think this beer is going to be competition ready, you never know. So I'm going to prepare. So why I have 2 caps, I'm going to purge all these bottles with my CO2 and then lay these caps on top. Not seal them, just to hold CO2 in, then bottle, then seal with those caps, and then I'll rinse these off and use them again. And then I have this poor Polios, or Los Pollos Hermanos glass. Just logos seen better days, but it's already been rinsed out with sanitizer. We're going to use that to get the first dregs out of the of here. It always pulls some of the trub out in the first run. And then I have one of our tasting glasses just to pull a little bit to get kind of an idea, not an official tasting, an idea of what it's going to taste like. So I'm going to start. Like I said, I need 2 hands. When I come back, I think I will be done. So let's see. What do you know? I got 8 this time. And that was due to leading this a little forward. I wanted to do this since I was doing 1 gallon batches. I haven't yet. I want to build some kind of rig that holds this at this angle the whole time. I might do that and get that done before I've done the rest of this. So also want to point out the balloon is well deflated, so that should have done its job. And these are, if you're wondering, in a specific order. This is the very first one bottled. This one is questionable because my wife had called me and I talked to her on speakerphone, but I was speaking over it as I was filling, so that the air pressure from talking might have pushed some oxygen in there, or if a little spittle came off my lip, might have thrown in there. So I'm isolating that. That's the last one. I always mark the first and last one. But these here, which there's usually 4, I got 5 this time. These are the money bottles. These are the ones, if it goes to competition, it's going to be 3 of these. So we'll see. I don't know. Again, my hopes aren't high, but we shall see. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in a room temperature area, boxed in case they explode, so they don't cause shrapnel to go all over the place, just in a box, and then wait it out for a week. I just took a little taste of the sample I drew, and it's a little, can't get a great picture. Wasn't really setting up for a glamour shot on this. The reason I stopped is because I might have been a little hasty in assuming that this might not be what I'm looking for, or close to it, or even worth putting in a competition, because the aroma kind of blew my expectations out of the water. The aroma was almost perfect for what I'm looking for. The taste is close, but a little thin. But as you can see, obviously, it's not carbonated. And I'm thinking possibly the carbonation might wake up everything a little bit. So I might have been a little hasty in thinking that nothing was going to come of this. we'll see. In fact, we're just going to let these bottles age out, and we'll probably see what I think right after this, honestly. All right, here we are. Moment of truth for the first attempt at Three-Headed Dragon, and I am looking more forward to this than I was right after I brewed this. You just saw. I'm not going to recap. This episode's already pretty long, so let's check for the hiss, which we got. This is just a week old condition-wise, so I expect it to be cloudy and maybe not fully carbonated yet, though carbonation doesn't look like a problem. But I certainly expect it to be cloudy. Another month in the fridge for the other ones is going to probably settle out. Yep, and it's cloudy, exactly like I thought it was going to be, but it is the right color. Once that clears up, which it certainly should, it usually does, there's some dry hop, but I don't think enough to make it a hazy pale ale. But I do like the color, and I can kind of guess what it's going to be once everything clears out. So let's check the aroma, which is really nice, which is kind of what I just experienced when I bottled this. It's surprisingly nice, considering how thin I thought everything was going to be. But of course, that mostly comes from the hops, so I guess thin or not, it would make sense. But the aroma is really nice, like sweet hop, sweet floral hop almost. Maybe sweet's not there. Yeah, I think it's sweet. I'm going to use sweet because that's what I'm smelling. That definitely the Galaxy hops, the fruitiness of it comes through. Little bit of citrus, but more of just an overall, like a sweet fruit, little bit of kind of more of a tropical fruit profile without being a specific one like pineapple or mango or anything I can detect. Just a nice sweet fruit, little bit of citrus, a little grapefruity, just a touch grapefruity, but aroma is really nice. So let's get to tasting. It's not as thin as I expected it. It is a touch thin, but that's the thing, just a touch. It's actually, yeah, surprisingly rounded, but it could absolutely use some more malts. That I noticed right away. But let me give a taste now for more specific descriptors. It has a really nice bitterness to it without being super bitter. Again, the hops really come through. They're mostly kind of on I'm getting more of the citrus in the taste than I did in the aroma. Still kind of fruity, just a hint of earthiness, and I mean a hint. I mean, you have to look for it to find it. And just an overall nice, soft, almost hop taste, as weird as that sounds, with a very strong bitter, not strong bitter, but the strongest flavor of the hops is the bitter backbone. I think what it really needs is just a touch more malt, and I think if I do this right at the right calculations, the right percentages, I think I might have something. I'm going to taste one more time. Yeah, I mean, you can barely pick out any kind of malt specifics other than it's a beer. It's not watered down, it's not a light beer, but there's no specific character to the malt at all, like no sweetness. In fact, I thought it was clearing up a little bit, but it's still the same haziness. No specific sweetness, I think, but again, with the right percentages, and you get the base malt ramped up a little bit, and just a touch of the specialty malts, it's gonna add that little bit that's missing. I'm actually, on one hand, I'm still kicking myself for making that mistake, but I think I'm on to the right numbers. I just have to, or the right percentages, I should say. I just need to compensate for that efficiency mistake that I made. I'm still really liking this, especially with knowing what I can do with it. And it's actually pretty good. Otherwise, I don't think it's an award winner. I think the scoring would be okay. It'd probably be, I don't know. I'm not going to say what, because I don't know. I've never put one of my pale ales in. I don't think it's going to get knocked for any off flavors. I'm not tasting any off flavors. And I think the CO2 kind of lock that I put on it with that balloon from cold crashing to bottling, that plays a big part in really no off flavors that I can find. Maybe if it warms up, I can find some, but we're not going to wait for that. I'm actually, again, so I think this is the second time or third time I said that, actually happy with the results and happy I found the mistake. And with it being a pale ale, and you really want that hop freshness, especially from the dry hops, to come out in those late additions, if you're entering into a competition, I do have plenty of time, even when I'm done my 10th beer, to do this again and do it right. The only catch to that is I will have to have already registered my entry as stating that I'm going to put in a pale ale. And I can always not take it, and I'm out $8 or whatever the entry price is, but it's kind of taking a little bit of a chance. I don't know that I'll have the beer that I want to take, but I might take that chance because I really want to dial in a pale ale personally, and I really want to get some feedback on it. So I think I have enough time to do that. So I think I'm going to do this again. And I am going to register a pale ale and enter that one, or see how these age out by the time the competition comes around, because I have enough bottles to maybe do that, just to make sure I have an entry in with what I registered for. But I do have that time, and I think I'm going to do that. So stay tuned. I know this was a long episode. Thank you for hanging in there. That is it for this one. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, hit the alarm bell. Sometime I'm going to find out where everything is on the screen, so I'm pointing the right way, but this is not that episode, unfortunately. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in that next episode.